Hi there, my name is Ian, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to take a look at one of the latest releases from Esoteric Recordings and Cherry Red Records, the highly awaited World Record box set by Graaf Generator. World Record, originally released in October of 1976 on Charisma, was the final 1970s Graaf Generator album to feature the classic lineup: Peter Hammill, vocals, guitar, piano; David Jackson, tenor, alto, soprano saxes, and flute; Hugh Banton, Hammond organ, bass pedals, and mellotron; Guy Evans, drums, percussion, and cymbal. Before we get underway, I would like to enthusiastically recommend Jim Christopoulos and Phil Smart's book, A History of the Band Graaf Generator, 1967 to 1978. This book proved an invaluable research text for this review. While the physical version is currently out of print, it can be purchased as an affordable Kindle version. It's a great read for aficionados of the band and casual fans alike. On to World Record. The third Graaf Generator record to be recorded in just under a year's time, World Record followed on the heels of the band's comeback albums, God Bluff and Still Life. It's remarkable to think just how much creative output songwriter Peter Hammill produced at this time, considering his solo album Over was also recorded within that time frame. By May of 1976, Graaf Generator were burning the proverbial candle and enduring tumultuous changes in both their personal and professional lives. The band had just survived a disastrous Italian tour, including a political riot and a carjacking. The truck and much of the gear were recovered by the Italian police, who were suspected to have been in on it, but gone were Guy's beloved drum set and Hammill's blue Stratocaster. Meanwhile, Hugh Banton and David Jackson had both been recently married, and both were becoming a bit ill at ease with the lack of sustainable income for their young families. Peter had also suffered a traumatic breakup with his wife Alice, who ran off and married a Graaf Generator roadie. On top of this, their manager, Gordian Troller, and Peter were spending beyond the band's means, private jets and expensive dinners and the like. While Graaf Generator were a hit with Italian audiences, and also in some parts of England and Europe, they failed to grow an audience. Or, as Guy put it, with every album, they lost some sales and they gained some sales, but it all evened out to be roughly the same in the end. No growth. So with World Record, I can hear the Graaf Generator machine beginning to grind to a halt. Recorded right as Still Life was released, and released only 6 months after, it has the feeling of a contractual obligation album, which it was. At that point, Graaf Generator were essentially running their own business, but they owed 3 albums to Charisma Records. I think it's a deeply flawed, occasionally brilliant, and occasionally awful album, though the new stereo and surround mixes from Stephen W. Taylor make it sound absolutely incredible. The performances feel really loose on it, which at times can actually be one of the album's strengths. From a strictly compositional and performance perspective, it's not as technically demanding an album as Still Life or God Bluff before it, but what it does have is a fresh, punky energy that feels like the songs were pretty much being assembled as they were recorded. Sometimes it works really well for the album, and sometimes it does come off sounding a bit unfinished to me. I also think to some extent this paring down of the band's sound was intentional, and some of it was unintentional. This is Graaf Generator approaching Hawkwind territory at times, I feel, more improvisational. A Place to Survive especially has that feel, but this will of course culminate in the Vital era, with both Hawkwind and Graaf sharing the bill for that particular tour. Side 1 of World Record kicks off strongly enough. When She Comes is classic gothic Graaf Generator. A Place to Survive is Graaf Generator experimenting with funk grooves, which I like a lot, and I also love the themes of standing one's ground. This kept making me think of Hammill's 1974 solo album, Nadir's Big Chance. A Place to Survive, which is my favorite song on the album, is also slightly extended on the remix, and something about the way the song develops and collapses in on itself makes it rather compelling to me. Peter Hammill's vocals have never been better than what they are here. Every word is just dripping with venom. I love it. At 52 minutes long, World Record could definitely benefit from some editing in spots. The 20-minute track Mergely's 3, which is Peter Hammill's love letter to his guitar, he calls it his only friend, takes up most of side 2 and is actually much better than I had remembered it. In fact, I really enjoy most of this track, particularly in this new mix. However, this doesn't change my central issue with this song. As far as lead guitar players go, Peter Hamill is no Jimi Hendrix, he's no Frank Zappa, he's no Eric Clapton, he's no Carlos Santana. Overall, it's pretty enjoyable with some great ensemble playing and warm, jazzy sax improv from Jackson, but it culminates in a fairly skippable, in my opinion, reggae section. Sure, Graaf Generator smoked a joint with Bob Marley, which, for my money, earns them the right to reggae till their heart's content. However, it goes on just a little bit too long for my liking, and Hamill's lead guitar playing just doesn't engage me that much. For me, the 6 minutes or so at the end of Mergleys 3 is perhaps the lowest point in the entire Graaf Generator 70s catalog. However, in this new mix, I think Stephen W. Taylor has subdued or even tuned Hamill's guitar, which at the very least makes it more palatable for my ears. Finally, the Hugh Banton penned Wandering goes on just a little bit too long for my liking. It's not a bad song, but in the end, it's kind of a belabored one. The hymnal quality that I'm sure is a Banton-specific flavor is indeed something that I like very, very much. And I love the quality of Hamill's voice here. It's almost a callback to the soft choir boy sound that he used on some of the early recordings. I find Wandering a minor Graaf Generator classic, but not nearly up to the level of a My Room Waiting for Wonderland from the previous album, Still Life. Mix-wise, Peter Hamill's voice has never sounded better captured to me than here. He envelops the room, and it's astounding to hear. Those layered vocal overdubs that he's known for are so brilliantly textured in this mix. It's like a painting for your ears. Despite my criticisms of this material, Stephen W. Taylor made this album so much more inviting to me than I remember, and he revealed a lot of its charms. He also inadvertently brought out some of its flaws, but overall, I'm finding myself appreciating it a lot more through this new mix. Guy's drums sound great and punchy. He's just amazing at the weirdo gothic stuff like When She Comes, and he can be nice and funky on a song like A Place to Survive, so no complaints here. Hugh Banton's organs and synths are given such transparency in the mix, and I love hearing how clever his arrangements are. He adds a lot of what's it type sounds that underscore little moments, and I just love what he brought to this album in his rhythm/bass organ playing especially. Hugh is the engine of this band, especially at this time. David Jackson on saxophones and woodwinds is as always a genius, and he's a highlight of any Graaf Generator album, and certainly of this one. However, no mix can change the fact that Peter Hamill hadn't really developed that much as a lead guitarist at this point, and I believe that the album could benefit from some editing. To me, this is a C+ Graaf Generator album, given an A+ presentation. The packaging offered here is the typical esoteric style clamshell box containing 3 mini LP sleeves and a booklet. The liner notes and photos are almost a direct one-to-one copy of the same liner notes from Mark Powell that were included in the Graaf Generator Charisma Years boxed set. This is fine, but I'm guessing that since the 5.1 mix included here is new, many will be buying this who also own the boxed set. It would have been nice had Esoteric commissioned new liner notes, or adapted or expanded them using some of Jim Christopoulos and Phil Smart's book for text. Disc 1 includes the same 2021 Ben Wiseman master as is included in the boxed set, including the Mergleys 3 single edit, but lacking the BBC sessions, which is a real shame because they're nice to hear. Disc 2 is Stephen W. Taylor's 2025 stereo remix, which is new and exclusive to this release. Disc 3, the Blu-ray, contains Taylor's new 5.1 and stereo mixes, but curiously does not include the original stereo mix. It does, however, score major brownie points for me for that image of the vinyl record spinning, which shows during the album playback. Whoever came up with that idea, I hope they got a raise. So there you have it. My thoughts on the new edition of Graaf Generator's World Record from Esoteric Recordings. While I've always been a little bit critical of this one, I still enjoy huge stretches of it despite its flaws, and I do recommend it. It's a similar album in a way to Gentle Giant's The Missing Piece, the sound of a band trying to expand their palette and do something fresh and exciting, while unfortunately suffering chronic burnout. This is not the case, however, for the follow-up album, The Quiet Zone / The Pleasure Dome, a brilliant reinvention of Van der Graaf with a new lineup and a proto-new wave avant-prog songwriting aesthetic that I just adore. In parting, it's my sincere hope that Quiet Zone / The Pleasure Dome is the next in line for the Stephen W. Taylor treatment. So what do you think? Do you like World Record? Is there some brilliance here that I'm missing? How do you feel about the prospect of a Taylor mix of Quiet Zone / The Pleasure Dome? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget also to like the video and also to subscribe to the channel. My plans in the immediate future are to review the new Jethro Tull boxed set, Still Living in the Past, as well as Camel's The Snow Goose, which is also presented in this attractive clamshell case. And I'd like to see those put up within the next week or so. But the only way to make sure you don't miss it is to subscribe to the channel. Till then, see you later.